thought there was a number of things that we did, really well. I also thought there was a number of things that can come back to bite us if we don't get those things corrected. I thought overall, I didn't think we did a good enough job, up front offensively, controlling the line of scrimmage. I think that's an area that we've got to be better at. We've got to do a better job of protecting the quarterback. We've got to do a better job being able to get something going in the run game. And yet I felt like there were some plays that we made, in critical moments in the game. We were able to make some plays and give ourselves a chance to win the game. I thought defensively, there's a number of things that we did well from a coverage standpoint, a number of things that we did well from a pass rush standpoint. I still think, there's really probably 2 runs in the game that I felt like, we didn't fit up like we needed to. We made some mistakes, gave up a little bit more yards in the running game than we should have. Obviously, you don't get a chance to take those runs out. But I thought from a consistency standpoint, I thought we did a pretty good job in the run game. We just let a couple, runs get out on us a little bit that ended up costing us about 30 yards that I think we could have eliminated. Obviously, the screen play was the biggest play in the game. And yet there's 3 or 4 plays in the game where I thought we got away with a couple of things, in terms of some coverage mistakes that could have cost us. So there's things to clean up there. In the kicking game, we've got to do a better job of, when we're in the return game, particularly on kickoff return, with the new rules and everything, if we're able to fair catch the ball or they kick the ball into the end zone, we get the ball on the 25-yard line, So my expectation is that, we're going to start no worse than the 25-yard line. So we can't, on a return, have a penalty that all of a sudden has us, having to start from, particularly inside our 15-yard line, and we can't turn the ball over in those situations. So, there was a number of things that I thought we did well in the game, and yet there's a lot of things that we have to clean up.
In the protection, what did you see that really led to the early protection issues and overall adjustment to it mid-game?
Well, look, I think they have a really good scheme in terms of what they do. They get good players that are doing it. They run a lot of stunts and games and things like that make you have to be able to work in concert with all 5 guys together, and they've got good guys doing it. So I think they're the way that they attack protections is a difficult challenge, and yet we've got to be better from an offensive standpoint of being able to create a pocket for our quarterback to step up into and complete some balls down the field. And when we were able to have the protection, I thought we were able to do some things offensively in the passing game.
The starting field position on those kickoffs, did that already make you guys want to revisit whether you want to consider using?
Well, look, I think we're going to look at all avenues. I think there's a conservative approach that says, we're just going to take the ball on the 25-yard line. Obviously, we've got to execute the fair catch. And yet we've got a very talented returner back there that has the ability to potentially, create an explosive play. So I think there's a balance there. And yet the ultimate deal is that if they're going to give me the ball on the 25, I don't want to start with anything less than that. So, we've got to execute better in that area.
Did you think, and maybe it was your strategy as well, but their first few kickoffs, it seemed like went right at the 2, like they were putting you that decision on purpose?
We expected to see that a lot out of their kicker.
Yeah.
When you looked at his hit chart, he gave you a lot of returnable balls. And so we went into the game thinking we're going to take advantage of that, and we have an opportunity to get some returns, on them. But the execution wasn't where it needed to be.
Dennis, what do you get out of being able to move Olave around as much as y'all did on Sunday? Is that just like a great matchups thing, or?
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot that goes into that. Certainly you're looking for matchups. You're looking for ways to run the same ball plays and yet window dress it a little bit to where you create a little bit of confusion within the defense. So there's a lot of things that go into that. I think the cool thing is that he's versatile enough to do a lot of different things and line up in a lot of different positions.
And that was going to be a follow-up to that. Is it, I mean, it requires a certain kind of skill set to be able to do that, right? And not to move them into the backfield or.
Well, yeah, a skill set and an intelligence level about, knowing how to line up in a lot of different positions, and so I thought he did a good job on that. I thought we did a pretty good job of some of the short passing game stuff and being able to create some short passing game, which created some, explosive plays, catch and run opportunities.
What does it say about the connection already with Carr and Olave to have him go for over 100 yards in their first game?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the last time we're going to see it. We've got a lot of weapons offensively. We've probably got more speed on the field offensively than maybe what we've had here in a while, and so it's good to see. Like I don't, Olave went for over 100 in this game. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody else go for over 100 in another game. I just think we got a lot of weapons, and we've got to do a good job of protecting the quarterback where you can utilize those guys.
Dennis, what did you see of your running game without Alvin in there? I'm sure you're all game planning around not having his skill set.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think we got as much out of the running game as I think we could have. I think there was probably 3 or 4 plays in the game that I thought could have been really explosive plays that we didn't quite finish down the field. A couple of plays that got out on the edge that if we'd have just got a block here or there, rather than it being a 4 or 5 yard gain, it could have been a 15 to 20 yard gain or potentially more. So I think, we were closer offensively to creating some explosive plays than what maybe I thought coming off the field. But after you watch the tape, there's some plays there to be made. And it's good for our guys to be able to get in and watch the tape and see where, if we just do this just a little bit better, it could have been, an even more explosive play. There's a couple times the ball got out on the edge that we ended up kind of reaching and tugging that, cost us some yardage in the run game. So, look, it's certainly going to be something that we're going to look at from a schematic standpoint. What can we do better? How can we put our guys in better position? And how can we run the football, better than we did in this particular game?
Obviously, it's hard to create 3 turnovers a week, but the turnovers in the red zone stops. Is that kind of an expectation of what you expect from this defense to play that kind of level?
Yeah, I think all of us have been accustomed to seeing this defense play that way and be able to take the ball away, create pressure on the quarterback. I think those have been hallmarks of our defense, and it was good to see our guys go out and do that. I think if you take the block punt into account, you'd say there's 4 takeaways, in the game. I think that was a huge factor in the game. And then, look, I think both teams kind of struggled a little bit in the red area. I'm talking about offensively, and yet that was the difference in the game, and that we were able to, score a touchdown in the red area and be able to hold those guys to field goals.
What's the evaluation of Lou Headley's first game?
A little up and down, and look, you're going to watch his punts, and a lot of times it's not going to look conventional or maybe not be aesthetically pleasing, but yet the results, end up being pretty good. There's going to be some times where, the ball's going to be on the ground, and we're minimizing return opportunities, and I think that's part of, kind of his kick style that I think can be a weapon for us. So I thought both of the young specialists, I keep saying young, Headley's not young, all right, okay, rookie specialist, I think it was a good experience for them to get out in a real live game situation, at home, in the dome, all eyes are on you. And I think both those guys will continue to improve and continue to get better.
How did you figure the tackling effort
I thought overall it was pretty good. Yeah, I thought overall for a first week, having not had a lot of opportunities to tackle throughout the preseason, I thought overall it was pretty good.
It did seem like Headley had a couple of punts that the guy caught right on the near sideline. He was kind of pinned, right? Those examples.
Yeah, that's part of it. You know, look, the ultimate goal, you know, on the when you're punting the ball away is, you know, change field position, and the best way to change field position is not allow returns. It's much harder to cover when you're kicking 50, 60-yarder, you know, 4-0 hang times right down the middle of the field. So hang time, kick location, all those things are critical factors in terms of trying to minimize return opportunities.
Obviously, last year was an unaccustomed performance in the run defense, but how do you build off of what you did yesterday to keep that run defense going back to form?
Well, I just go back to work. You know, I mean, it's not a complicated process. You go back to work. You understand what your run fits are. You understand what the techniques are. You play with good pad level, and you fit things properly, and you make tackles when you're presented the opportunity to make tackles. So it's not a complicated process. And like I said, overall, I thought. Overall, I was pleased with the run game. I'm not happy that we had a couple that bounced out on us. And certainly those are things we got to get fixed.
Yes, what does it say about Mario that he's able to have the game that he had while dealing with what he was dealing with?
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, all these guys, you know, they walk out there, they got, you know, a helmet on, and all you know is the jersey number and the name on their back. And you look at them just as a professional athlete. But they're human beings just like everybody else, and they go through the same, you know, trials and tribulations of life just like everybody else does. And yet, every Sunday they go out and live their livelihoods out in front of, you know, 70,000 people in a stadium or millions of people on the TV audience, and are judged on how they do their job on a daily basis. So I think it's incredible that these guys are able to do what they're able to do at the level at which they're able to do it, dealing with all the other things that everybody else has to deal with, you know, and still trying to do their job in a very, you know, public forum.
How did you come out health-wise?
I think overall, pretty good. Ryan Conley is probably going to miss some time with that same knee that he had injured earlier, and then it looks like Peyton Turner's probably going to have surgery on a turf toe injury, kind of similar to Trevor Penning's deal at the end of preseason last year. So, obviously we're still going through the evaluation process on those things, but I think that's, probably the direction that we're
Those
headed.
turf toe injuries, seem like you all had a bad run of those over the years. You know, I mean, I can think back all the way to Mark Ingram. Is that just something you deal with playing on artificial surface sometimes?
Yeah, look, I guess, there's probably somebody better to ask in terms of statistically where the injuries occur, artificial surface versus, natural grass. Obviously, the turf that's down at the Dome this year is different than the turf that we had down at the Dome last year. Obviously that's, something that the league's put some emphasis on in terms of, trying to make the playing surfaces, better for our players. The interesting thing when you watch the play, there wasn't anything significant about the play that you said, okay, that I see where that occurred. So it's unfortunate for Peyton because I thought he was doing some good things early on in the game, and he had a nice training camp. So, it's an unfortunate loss.
Was that the league's call to change the turf, or the team's call, and what's the difference?
Well, you probably have to ask Mickey what the actual. I think it was highly encouraged to go to this new turf.
Because the players were talking last year, right, about the different types of turf or like the levels. I think that's the wrong word. I can't remember the article that came out, but
Yeah, probably above my head or above my
You're
head.
not a grass expert?
No.
Dennis, I know you won't say directly that Isaiah Foskey replaces him, but he obviously was a healthy and active. You liked what you saw at the end of the preseason. I mean, if this increases his opportunities, where do you think he is in his development?
Well, look, I definitely think there's an opportunity's opened up for him. You know, obviously we have a couple, options, also on the practice squad. And so we'll see, what we feel like is the best move for our team. But certainly, look, anytime somebody faces an injury and are going to be out for any significant amount of time, it opens a door for somebody else to take advantage of. And so, I think it's certainly an opportunity for him.
And Isaiah being a healthy and active, obviously there's two parts to that. He had 4 pretty good defensive ends in front of him, but he had his own curve. Like, is he a player that sort of looked like he needed a red shirt, or he just didn't have that opportunity?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, I think it's probably, like you said, I think it's probably twofold. I think he's still a guy that needs some development. And yet I saw a lot of improvement from early part of training camp all the way through the last preseason game. So, yeah, I mean, look, it probably just accelerates the curve a little bit.
I know it probably is another simple answer to it, but different teams, same situation. You come off a 1 point week 1 win. How do you avoid losing the week 2 matchup now?
Preparation. The same focus and intensity in terms of preparation that we had this week. I thought we had an outstanding week, really last 10 days, of preparation for this team and for this game, and that's the key to winning in our league. You really win the game based on how you prepare during the week, and then Sunday you just go out and play the game.
Early in
We
the,
didn't get a chance to ask you about this earlier, but I mean, some Traquan's been missing since early August. Why did y'all wait until the day before kickoff to put one out?
Yeah, I think it's the business of pro football, and so we kind of waited to see when he might be available, and then we made the decision to put him on IR. Obviously, that puts him out at least for the first 4 games.
And as Taysom didn't get any snaps overall, is that a product of him missing time or game plan matchups? It seemed like he didn't play that much on special teams either.
Well, he was in 2 phases of special teams. He was on the punt team. He was in the punt block return team, which has been pretty typical of the workload for him in terms of special teams. We've kind of minimized his work, in terms of the kickoff return or kickoff coverage teams, because he's so valuable in what he does, offensively and the different things that he can do offensively. I do think that, he's a player that we'd like to get, more involved. Here's the great thing about having so many weapons offensively is you got a lot of weapons to get the ball to. The difficult thing is there's only one ball on the field, and so it's hard to get. If you're getting 15 touches for Taysom Hill, then Chris Olave is not getting the same touches. If Chris Olave is getting 8 catches or 8 touches, then maybe we're not getting the ball to Mike Thomas enough. And so the ultimate goal is to win the game. We did that. We'll look each and every week in terms of what we can do from a game plan standpoint, schematically. Try to be, as productive as we can offensively.
it sounded like early on in this press conference you alluded to the flea flicker on the far sideline from you, and then Tajay Spears running down the near sideline. When you look at how the defense affected the quarterback, especially the front, with his footwork and timing and mechanics, do you like to give them some credit for his inaccuracy, or did he just miss some of those throws?
Look, I mean, I'd start off by saying every game we've ever played in or been a part of, there's plays that, you don't execute exactly how you need to, and yet the offense doesn't take advantage of it, and there's, probably sometimes, where, our opponent doesn't execute the way they're supposed to execute, and yet we don't take advantage of it. So I mean, that's part of the game of pro football. I've always kind of looked at the game of pro football as a game of mistakes, and the team that makes the least amount of them is generally the one that wins the game. But again, those are good learning experience. We get a chance to come in here, watch the tape, make the corrections that we need to make sure we understand the importance of, doing our job on every single play, because somewhere down the line, those things are going to hurt you.
Last night, Derek described the communication between he and Pete Carmichael about that double move on the outside. I think you had alluded to it as well, but just sort of the trust between the offensive coordinator and quarterback. I know it's encouraging, but just how encouraging is that for you as a head coach?
Well, I think. Are you talking about the end of the game play?
End of the game,
yeah. So, it was really just one where Shaheed ran by the guy, but so when that play came up, obviously when the series came up, Pete and I talked on the sideline, and I said, we're not going to be able to just run this clock out. We've got to get first down, so we're going to have to throw the ball, to be able to convert some first downs, and so when it got to that 3rd and 7, that was a play that Derek and Pete had been communicating on the sideline, that Derek felt like there was an opportunity there. He felt like he liked the play. And in that situation, he felt like, he'd take the shot to Shaheed if it was there, still had Olave coming on the over route, and yet the 2 check downs, on the backs coming out were still going to be available to him if he didn't like that. So, I don't know if that's the play I would have called, but that's the play that, they felt good about. And I had confidence in our guys to go out and execute the play. And so I told the guys today, I told them the other day, we're going to play the game to win. So, when it's time and we got to make a play to win the game, I'm going to put it on the players to go do it.
What are your thoughts on Bryce Young from the scouting y'all did on him earlier in the year?
Look, I thought, and I'm just now getting into really studying him in terms of game planning for this week. I thought he was extremely accurate. I thought he was extremely intelligent, made really good decisions. I thought one of the best things that he did was his ability to create, in terms of off rhythm or off timing throws, be able to escape the pocket, be able to climb and escape. So I thought just his, some of the, for lack of a better term, some of the playground, football that he's able to, create on the field, I thought was one of his best assets. So, I think, he's clearly, a good prospect, and we're gonna treat him with the respect that he deserves.
And overall, when you look at your offense, like where would you be on the spectrum between that was rough at times, but I'm glad we did enough, or that was a really good defense and I'm encouraged that we did enough?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm on the probably the spectrum of it was rough at times, but encouraged that we did enough to make the plays that we needed to win the game. Obviously they're a good defense, and they're a good football team. People forget this was the #1 seed in the AFC 2 years ago, with a lot of the same cast of characters. So it's a good football team that's well coached. We knew that this was going to be a tightly contested game. We knew that they kind of hung their hat on kind of these grind it out, keep the score down, and be able to win the game in the critical moments. And so it was good to see that we played that type of game, and we were able to make plays in the critical moments to win it.
Your schedule changed a little bit with the Monday night game this week?
Yeah. So not a lot. We'll have basically a bonus Wednesday, and then kind of get into a regular schedule.
You'll have a bonus Tuesday on Wednesday, or a bonus practice day on Wednesday?
we'll have a bonus Wednesday on Wednesday. Kind of like this week we had a bonus.
Right. Yeah, you
Wednesday
practice
on Monday.
So you'll have an extra day with the
We'll
guys.
have an extra day out on the field, probably more of a walkthrough type of environment.